Hendrik Samisch is the founder and CEO of Kraftwerk, a company dedicated to integrating renewable energy into the electrical grid, and he is joining us now via satellite to discuss the electrifying plans he has for the future. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks a lot for inviting me. It's great to be here.
Hendrik, you established your company Next Kraftwerke in 2009. Can you tell me a little bit about what it was you set out to accomplish?
Yeah, the idea behind Next Kraftwerke was, well, everybody said we need conventional resources, conventional power plants to balance the grid. It's not possible to do it with renewables. And we thought there should be a way in a 100% renewable world of having the same quality of electricity, sustainable supply, and to guarantee it with renewables. And that was the starting point. We used distributed renewables to mimic the role of conventional power plants by networking them and using them to balance power grid fluctuations. And we saw it worked quite good. So we started about 7 years ago, and now are a team of about 100 employees in Germany and neighboring countries. And we see that renewables can contribute to a balanced electricity grid, and even better than conventionals can do.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because there's momentum that starts to build as you're moving in the right direction. And just so that everybody understands, what is Germany's Energiewende policy, and how exactly is Next Kraftwerke working towards replacing the traditional fossil fuels and nuclear energy with decentralized renewable energy?
Yeah. The Energiewende started about 15 years ago with a governmental decision of doing the transition from conventionals to renewables by guaranteed return on investments from renewables. And this was really a success story. So by starting this governmental project, we had about 800 power plants around Germany. Today, 15 years later, we have 1.5 million. And in peak hours, renewables like wind and PV can contribute to up to 100% of the electricity supply in Germany, and this is really the success story. In parallel, the costs for renewables declined dramatically, so it's less than 10% of total costs for photovoltaic installation than 15 years ago. And today, yeah, one third of the German electricity is generated by fluctuating renewables like wind and solar, and yeah, this works excellent. So, and the energy world has been democratized by households, farmers, and other investors owning the installations instead of the conventional utilities.
And I think that's the interesting thing too, because a lot of this is relatively new. So I always encourage people, in fact, I encourage them to go and research your company so they can see what you're doing, and they understand that it's going to get to a tipping point where all of a sudden, I think this will absolutely be the majority of how the renewable energy is created in Germany. Now, for you in particular, the aggregated virtual power plant is a relatively new concept that Next Kraftwerke has seemed to successfully implement. What exactly does it do to revolutionize traditional methods of energy production, and what impact does that have on the atmosphere and the carbon emissions?
Yeah. In former times, or some years ago, the paradigm in the electricity world was there is a fluctuating demand for electricity, and there's a conventional power plant sector which is flexible enough to guarantee a stable system by balancing it. And the shift in the system was we, and also the German government, believed that if the production of electricity by resources like wind and PV fluctuates, there will be a way of stabilizing the grid. So it's the paradigm shift from a volatile demand and a power supply of conventionals reacting to it to a fluctuating supply of electricity by wind and PV. And we see that it works, that PV and wind are fluctuating, but we can stabilize the system by controlling them and other resources, by controlling demand, for example, industrial installations like pumping, to guarantee the security of supply of electricity. And this is our key task we build up at Next Kraftwerke.
What I love, because it does sound kind of complex, but you have a metaphor that you've used about how the virtual power plant is kind of like having all of these different resources, all of these energy producing individuals who, it's almost like a school of fish. You get them to work all together so you can direct the energy in one way. Now, are there specific difficulties in dealing with this kind of technology, and how do you overcome those difficulties?
Yeah. Exactly, this is a good example. So it's like a school of fish. So in a central system, you can easily control 800 big power plants. But if you have 1.5 million, which react to wind infeed, to solar infeed, then it's another challenge. And what our goal was, forming a school of fish out of these 1.5 million installations. So what we do is turning on and off wind turbines, solar panels, biogas units, other renewables, and industrial power demand to act as a conventional power plant, but with 100% renewables in our portfolio. And this was the goal we have at Next Kraftwerke. We coordinate the fish to form the school of fish and to help a lot of distributed renewable energy sources to act like conventionals, but CO2 neutral. And this was a challenge from a technological perspective, to get the information, to control the distributed sources. But we managed to control quite a lot of the renewables to play this role in the market and help the grid staying stable.
You're definitely doing something right, and I love that you're getting all of these people to work together. You're even setting an example for other countries who want to do the same thing. If we jump to your company in particular, I think it's amazing. So the median age of the employees at your company is 30 years old, which is very young. As the company expands toward recent graduates and young engineers to grow with you, talk to me about why it's important for you to look towards younger generations as new hires.
It's what we're doing is something which has never been done before. So for young engineers, but also for older engineers, it's a challenge to solve technological issues. And if we think about this challenge we are confronted with, it's maybe the biggest challenge of mankind, that we have a climate change, and we have the chance to do something against the climate change, or to help that it's that we emit less CO2 than in the decades ago. And this is very interesting for young engineers, for young economists, for IT guys, for everybody who likes to do something important in his career. And therefore, we believe it's a great situation to start in this sector.
I thank you very much for setting an example for the rest of us and doing everything that you do. And I encourage everybody to research the virtual power plant and exactly what they're doing. Thank you very much.